Honoring our heroes on this special day, Veterans Day. Several veterans will share their stories and how they fought for freedom and peace on strange and foreign shores.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honoring Our Heroes, a Veterans Day special. I am Lou Seipel.
And I'm Jackie Schmelin, and we're here inside the Gold Star Museum, a very appropriate place to honor our veterans, but also talk about some amazing local stories.
Yeah, we're going to take you through a journey of some of our major wars in the United States and the Iowa ties that they have.
Yeah, our Iowa veterans. And we're going to introduce you to an incredible lady who's helping us today to tell those stories. So we want to welcome with us here at the Gold Star Museum, Sarah Maniscalco Robinson of the Iowa Veterans Perspective. So hello, Sarah. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
All right, so tell us about the Iowa Veterans Perspective. This is something you created, being a veteran yourself, so thank you, first of all, for your service.
Thank you.
How did this come to be?
Well, it really, as I have found out, is a calling that I've had throughout my entire life. I grew up the child of a veteran, and I joined the military when I was 18 years old. I never thought of anything else I'd rather do. And throughout my career, I started hearing more and more stories of our local veterans, and I thought, we really need to share these stories with the general population. Only 1% of our population serves in the military, so there's a vast number of people that don't know what it is to be a veteran.
And you're also sharing stories of people from many years past who it's important to hear those stories before they go away, correct?
That is so true, Jackie. I mean, we're losing our World War II veterans at alarming rates because they're now in their 90s. And the Korean War veterans are in their 80s. And if they pass away without sharing their stories, it's gone forever through time.
Some stories that may never be heard.
Exactly.
If you didn't document them, and that's what you do, is you document those stories.
Yes, and that's why it is so important to video record them, because it's not only them getting an opportunity to tell their story, but it's sharing them with that younger generation so they can learn what it was really like during that time.
And sharing their stories in their own words, from their own perspective, which is very unique.
You can learn more from sitting down with a veteran for an hour than you ever could in a book.
As someone who has served, what have you learned by interviewing these veterans?
I have learned that every job in the military is important. I so often hear, oh, you don't want to hear my story, my job was boring. And I always tell every veteran that your job was important. You helped in one way or another, regardless of what your job is. So that's what I've learned, is the military and our veterans are all one part of a big puzzle.
Now, as you've started Iowa Veterans Perspective, a lot of people have come out saying, we want to tell our story. Yes. What does that look like right now? How can we see these stories, and how can people get involved and participate?
Perfect question. There are a lot of people who want to be interviewed, and the community support has been absolutely amazing. But if you want to see one of my interviews, you can go to my YouTube channel, the Veterans Perspective channel, and watch any number of interviews. I also have a Facebook page and any sort of social media where you can follow along, because it really is a community project.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these stories are getting very detailed. How do you choose what is going to be in that story? Because I'm sure the stories by themselves are fascinating.
Exactly, yes. I love the entire full hour interviews, but in order to put it on social media, you need to have that 2 to 3 minute sample, just a sample of what this person is. And if you like what that person's story is and you want to learn more, then you head on over to the Veterans Perspective YouTube channel and you can watch the full hour. And it's so hard for me to choose what's important, what's not important, but I use my best judgment and tell the story the best way that I can.
You can also see those stories here at the Gold Star Museum, but we want to have a further look at what the Iowa Veterans Perspective looks like right now.
I'm Sarah Maniscalco Robinson, and this is the Veterans Perspective.
Hey, Sergeant Major, how are you?
Hey.
I share the stories of our veterans and educate people on what it truly means to serve our country.
World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And turn around and look, there's an old mushroom cloud was going.
As a veteran myself, I want to do my part to preserve our nation's history through the words of our veterans.
Korea has been called the Forgotten War because it took place between World War II and Vietnam.
We bridge the generation gap and teach young people what it truly means to be a veteran.
So this one is you?
Yeah, and that was taken in the summer of 51.
So I set out on a mission to tell their stories.
We were in a firefight one night and we sat down and talked about it years later. Every one of us had a different take on the firefight. There's always good stories and then there's some rough ones, you know?
I want to share with you the unique challenges and triumphs of the men and women who chose to serve our country and continue to be a part of our communities.
ValorFit is a nonprofit that pairs veterans together inside of local gyms as a support system. So it's similar to a battle buddy system like in the military.
If you're gonna do something, you gotta do it right.
That's exactly it.
And I will continue to do so as long as there are brave men and women in our communities who would like to share the veterans' perspective.
And that's just a small glimpse into the amazing people that I get to meet as I travel Iowa and get these stories.
You are going to meet an amazing veteran when we come back, one that escaped from a prisoner of war camp.
You're watching Honoring Our Heroes, a very special Veterans Day here on CW Iowa 23 and Local 5. We'll be back.